So welcome, Qhali. Tonight we are excited to be hearing poems from this amazing poet. She first came onto my radar when she entered our Red Wheelbarrow competition a few years ago and had one of the most beautiful poems that we'd read and was therefore chosen as one of our prize winners. And seems to be moving and shaking through the world. I'm very excited to see that there's a chapbook coming out next year through the New Generation African Poets. She's been a 2022 Atlantic Fellow for Racial Equality and holds an MA degree in creative writing and qualifications in public policy, development studies, and economics. She does work on gender-based violence in multiple languages and is just a really important poet and voice in this world. So we are very excited to hear some work from her tonight. Over to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Melissa. I think I'm just going to get reading. I think everyone comes here for poetry. The Red Wheelbarrow, I said this before, is a home to me. I often come here on Thursdays for poetry, so let me do some poetry, I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to be reading from the upcoming chapbook that you just introduced. It's titled, the name of the book, the chapbook is titled Crying in My Mother's Tongue, Ukulila. So that's the one title, which is basically a translation to Cry in My Mother's Tongue.
I can't hear you. Is that happening for anyone else?
I can't hear either.
Yeah, I can't hear either.
Still not. I heard up to just after your book title and then it went quiet.
Is it better now?
Yes, yay.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm reading some poems from the chapbook, and then I'll just read a few other poems which aren't included in the chapbook. But if we run out of time, I'll time myself. I'll stop. And then, yeah, I guess people can get a copy when it comes out. So the first poem, or the introduction, is Ulwimi. Ulwimi, a tongue. Ulwimi, a language. Ulwimi, a lie. I live in my mother's tongue. I've had many tongues dying inside my mouth. I've had many tongues inside my mouth. Many tongues growing in my mouth. Daughter, there are corridors in my memory I shall now take you into. Dark rooms in which I am blind and see everything. Where big hands pin me down, feasting on me, dead, breathing. Where my blood becomes the venom, where no one saves me. Is me. The past becomes the present, keeps me from leaving. Where a moonlight taste and purple futures are still waiting. I was born with storm inside me. At the center is the dark and the light. It is the dark that held me longest. And this is the story of day and night, of home, of no place, of beauty, and of love. This is the story of a woman, moving between time, between worlds, reaching for her mother outside her waters. This is the story of a body, dying and being born on the edge of something dreamt of. This is the story of a girl, and I loved her. I loved her. January 17, 1994, the pregnant tree in our village. In a village called Tsolobeng, over the Tina River, there is an empty house built upon the bones of a queen. Mamrena, they called her. She birthed 6 kings. One died on her back, 3 months old. And where he died, a pregnant tree pushed out, right from the center of her back. Hunched like this, she walked, a tall Sesotho creature, Mamren, covered in yellow snake skin with a towering brown tree on her back. Since her mate disappeared into the ground, they say the men in her village dared not look into her blue eyes. They all heard of the one who drowned in her. But I did. I grew up going into her, never wanting to come out. June 1st, 1994. Dear Kamata, I need to pray with Makulu now. There's too much moving around in this house. Bags being packed and unpacked, broken glass on the floor, then in Mama's hands, loud screaming in my ears, then whispering women in my sleep, and no praying. The other day I got dropped off at Makulu's, and many days later I got taken away from her. I didn't want to leave her, but no one ever asks me what I want. And Dada says children must keep quiet when big people talk, so I keep quiet all the time. But I try this thing where I tell them with my eyes. Sometimes I see them look, and all the times I see them hear, but say nothing. I didn't mind not playing with my friends at school. Makulu's school at home was so much better. She said, at hers, when I open my eyes, we start. I didn't mind being cold once a day, watching water cook on a fire that she made so I could bath. I didn't mind eating only istutu every day for breakfast, then chasing a chicken that scared me for dinner. Watching other children play whilst they waited for me to finish making bread with my fists. Having to sit on the floor and wait my turn in a circle with 1 plate and 7 other children to eat with my fingers. Climbing trees to look for ripe peaches, hiding in my mouth the green ones, filling her bucket with apricots, then walking all alone to her neighbor to trade them for mealies. I didn't mind being sent up the hill twice a day for Istoni, being chased down the hill by a brown dog so I couldn't steal any of it, all the way home. I didn't mind falling and cutting my knee open, and Makuli blowing the blood back into me, then telling me to go play the pain away. Washing in a little red vascom where I couldn't stretch my legs, but had to make sure I washed away all the day and all the night before I went into new ones. Singing over words that I couldn't understand every night for an hour from a hymn book written in my mother's tongue to earn my sleep. I didn't mind falling asleep listening to her pray for me and my teachers and my mama and my sisi and my mama's sisters and all her children and her children's children and my dada's mother and her children and her mama and her dada and their mothers and their fathers and her church and her friends and her neighbors and her mama Zala and her sisters from her mama Zala and their brothers, and for her husband and everyone with him to take all her prayers to you, Amat. This one is called A Dying. It's slightly long, and I do want to do a trigger warning for this one. I won't read all of it. A Dying. Shh, he says. His green tongue licks the cold off my face. You fucking make a sound and this knife will fuck you before I do. I do as he says, not because of the knife walking my throat. My daughter is sleeping in her bedroom, less than 6 steps. I can hear her breathing. I plead silently, God, deafen this master so he doesn't hear my girl. I hear her. her chest moving up and down, my eyes shut, her breath dancing in and out. I focus on this, I focus on her. For a moment, I can forget the face on top of me. For a moment, I am not in this moment. He licks my eyes open. He whispers, God is quiet. The man is pushing into my bed. I don't fight him. I cannot fight him. My daughter, I want to sink. I want to drown, but the mattress is fighting him. A small cry slips out. I have been crying for a while. Saliva down my mouth. This is real. He is real. This is fear. I want to fight back. My daughter's face tells me not to. She is inside my eyes. He bends his heavy, long upper body over my small frame. He comes back up with a red brick. My eyes open, I recognize the brick. I have a pile of bricks outside. I was going to finish building the wall. It's my fault. This nightmare is my fault. How did he get inside my house? Without me hearing? He had to break something. Did I not lock the sliding door? No, I did. I did. Does he have a key? Do I know this person? Does this person know me? The brick. Why is he holding a brick above my face? Is he going to kill me? If he wants to kill me, he has a knife. Why is he not stabbing me? Why is he holding a brick above me? He answers, a kettle boiling in my ears, loud, hot. This is pain. It is dark. He comes back at me again with the brick. I'm out. I'm in. I'm out. Blood is lava in my mouth, a thick oozing in between my teeth. I am choking on my blood. I can't cough, but I do a little. I will wake her up, so I swallow. Blood is running down my face. Blood is pouring. I want to cough. This is panic. He puts the brick down on the empty side of the bed, gently. He is delicate with it. Settles it down beside me, a lover for later. I'm out. I'm in. God, please save me. The man on top of me is grunting, pulls his penis out of his pants. A breathing snake falls onto my stomach. God is quiet. He hits me with it, his penis. I want to ask him to take everything I no longer care about, but I don't. I don't speak. God is quiet. This is helplessness. I am going to stop that poem there. It goes on for 3 more pages. The next poem is titled Graves. It's written in isiXhosa and in English. I will read both, and it's on 1 page. Graves. Abanye abafazi ngamangcwaba agrunjwa ngooyise abangabaziyo. Abanye ootata bagrumba nzulu kumhlaba ongadalelwanga bona. Amangcwaba, the translation. Other women are graves dug by fathers they never met. Others by fathers who dug too deep into places they should never go to. June 17, 1994. Dear Kamata, why did you give Dada small hands? Dada's hands are too small to hold Umama. So he cuts her up to make her fit. He cannot have umfazi bigger than him living in his house. Every night, Dada dilutes his blood nomkama wabelungu. I guess it tastes better than his own. He's trying to quieten the dead ones in him, but the smell of death won't leave his bones. Mama's bones cry to put Dada to sleep, but only her blood pouring lets him know he's won. I'm not allowed to swim in Mama's blood anymore, but I am allowed to watch her clean it up, allowed to help her pull him up, to wash ibhaketi elibomvu after she offers igazi lakhe to the soil. I'm never alone. The moon became my friend and the only other witness of how Mama plays dead, then trades her blood and bangapants for more time with me. February 10th, 1999. Dear Kamata, did you have a choice? I think they lied about you in the Bible. I think they lied about Esther, Eve, and Mary too. But the biggest lie was, let me start again. I think they lied about you in the Bible. I think they lied about Esther, Eve, and Mary too. But the biggest lie was God being you. I don't think you have a penis. What purpose would that serve? In what eternal place would a creator actually choose to be male? I guess if you were born here on earth, that would make sense. But on the other side, in heaven, I don't know. Jesus may have been a man here, but chances are, if he cried out that day, it was mother who would forgive. This poem is titled Sisnokuthula. Yeah, I do have to mention that it's for my young sister who passed away some years ago. March 19, 2007, Sisnokuthula. Do you remember how you called me Sisi? But I was only 1 year ahead of you. I spent 150 days counting scars to see your face. You taught me how to listen to Nodumato's tales of her parents, to forget about my own. How to make black ice cream with Kool-Aid and a ShopRite plastic. We would smile, each smile teaching the other the new languages we had to learn. You taught me how to jump over torn pantyhose, quietly land on the other side, smile. You said I had been here before. I felt the same about you. 2012, the weight of the years. My sister fished me out of the water last year. She took me to Mama and begged her to save me. I think she didn't know you don't bring a woman a child that she cannot save and expect her to stay the same. Dada knew the weight of her calling and failing. That's why he got into his car and left town. Mama knew the limits of her body. She didn't say a word. She only tried to hold me, but my breath was too heavy. She lay beside me. I felt I could drown in her waters, but I saw lungs die inside her. She held me with the quiet between us, and I knew that despite the weight of her own story, mine would hurt her more. I am a glass. I am a glass. I don't break. I don't burn. I'm fighting flames off my skin. Ulwimi lwam luyatsha, ilizwi liyatsha, aniboni ndiyatsha. Things that once lived in me are dead. Things I licked off isibelo kamama. And there is a lump growing inside me, beating. It is made of her blood, so it grows. It should not be growing, but it is her. This black body holding it is burning. I am black, I am burning. I am red, I am burning. I am a scab. Ingono zam, black monstrous chunks now. My nipples, monstrous chunks. Inhliziyo yam, ibetha emaqatheni. All stuck in this bottle with me, all charred pieces of flesh for the animals now. And I am stuck in this bottle, and he is out there, smiling, to have gotten away with it, to have gotten away with it. Three letters I never gave to P. So I will say P is an old lover. 1. Dear P, your tongue. I want you in my mouth. I want your face inside my mouth. I want to shove you down my throat, to meet you with my tongue. I don't want you to speak outside me. I want to swallow you. I want to follow your tongue to my father's. 2. Dear P, to lay with you. When you climb my bones, eyes closed, you tear into me blindly, into a womb trembling. You dig deeper to feel the wound I cannot see, bleeding. Beneath your waist, my spirit is a violent storm as the wound grows. Can you really not feel it? Or do you simply enjoy me dying? 3. Dear P, don't wake me up. You wake me up at night in your bed, sweating, annoyed that I am pouring water. You do not know the damage you do. I am a whale swimming alone inside these waters. I hear a song, faint, but I know it. I swim towards the song. When I almost reach the faces of the song, I hear a child crying on the shore. I know it is my child. I am swimming towards the child in my belly. When I reach the shore and lift my head, you wake me up. I might have load shedding, so the inverter is just gonna kick in if I get kicked out. August 22, 2014, the prophetess's hand. Back against the bed, a hand rises, tears through the roof, breaking into the sky. It gathers a handful of stars, comes back down. Nkosazana, a princess, leaving behind Inkos, old kings. In silence, they watch the prophetess's hand, planting Inkwenkwezi, a sand of stars, into the mouth of the girl. I swallow, and in the morning, I give birth to a baby girl. August 1st, 2018. Bambo lwam. Bambo lwam is a Xhosa sentiment, because it's not a word, it's 2 words. It means soulmate. You found me in the forest, naked, trembling, an animal, wounded, lost, no home, losing from a heart turned cold. You undressed your skin, surrendered to the soil to lay beside me, my fire. I woke up alive to you sleeping. December 7th, 2019. Dear S, I am coming to you. My last night on your chest, your thin black hairs folded as I came down. They made a fire for my bones. Your ribs softened enough for my spine to feel sheltered. And I did. And then the morning came, tearing, stretching, determined, unsoftened by a life that would not tear. You reasoned for another ending, pleading to an unrelenting hand. Now I hear you calling me everywhere. In the sea, I hear my name. It is not this one, but I know it is mine. I want to go in. I want to go in. I hear you calling me in the crowds. I want to go in. Driving on the N2 back home, I hear you. In the rocks along the road, I want to stop the car. I want to go in.
It'll be load shedding, so we'll just give her a minute to get back here.
Kid, can you help me with the video? The video is not coming on? No, the video is not coming on. You have to restart it properly. Okay.
Very nice to see so many of you here. So while we're waiting for Qhali, if you don't follow us already, Red Wheelbarrow Poetry Collective on social media, and if you're not on our mailing list, you're welcome to pop your email address in our chat box and I'll pass it on for that. We are here every Thursday, and in Cape Town we've got some in-person events scattered throughout the month and throughout various sides of the city. Next week, Wednesday, we are in Muizenberg at the Commons with an American poet who's out here in South Africa called Barbara Russ. So if you are in Cape Town, join us for that. And Thursday, we'll be back here on Zoom again. And I'm just letting Qhali back in here.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Should I just continue from where I left off?
Yeah, sure. Start the poem again, maybe if it was not too far from the beginning, but I think whatever you feel comfortable with, we are happy to have.
Now I hear you calling me everywhere. In the sea, I hear my name. It is not this one, but I know it is mine. I want to go in. I hear you calling me in the crowds. I want to go in. Driving on the N2 back home, I hear you. In the rocks along the road, I want to stop the car. I want to go in. But I am not alone. The trees behind them move. I am not alone. I hear you. I want to call back to you. Collect me on the edge where they took you. Bring me stories of Mkhunu, Makulu, Nokotula, and everyone. You will tell me your tales in your new language on our way back home. I have so much to tell you too. October 27th, 2019. Dear S, you will never leave me. Ours is an ancient love, born by more light than universe, of spells, of whispered answers, of all questions, of truth and breath and air, of wholeness seen only by those willing to see. Ours was bound by the purple string, each one on their end to pull the other to this point, this beginning, this end, where it all starts, where it ends, where you return into me. Kiss me. Surrender your last breath for my first. I will live my days carrying you, breathing you in and catching you. And each minute passing in envy will carry the story of us. And each star that walks will show the promise that we made. Together, crashing, splitting into two, reaching out, separated by the blue that stood witness to our first birth. The same air will walk with me as I search for you. It brought me here now, to each mountain that holds your face. And when I listen to hear you, my eyes draw me to a river where two rocks sit listening to you. And I offer my face to the wind. I ask you not to leave me. And you won't. November 8th, 2019. Dear S, I'm trying not to follow you. I see everything now. All the lonely chairs in the house with sunken seats, ashy mahogany hardwood floors with black footprints, naked walls with dry cracked lips, the quiet shelf cradling your torn blue jersey. I meant to give it to your mother, but first I had to sew it just before you left. And on it, there's a purple pin I chose to hold it with, and a purple string running through it. And you are not in all of them. On the news, I see children staring at me outside their mothers' mouths. Around them is a village on fire, thousands presumed dead. I see all the living ones and the dead ones staring. Clouds grow big above me. This is the place you left me in, the place you meant to build me in, despite all my tragedy, and despite all their tragedy. The fires and the loss in other women's worlds, my tragedy is bigger to me than all of theirs. I am a terrible human, a damned soul who might not make it to you. My pain is not lightened by the ending of other people's world. I am a terrible human. I look for fathers when I see children, and I run to my car and cry when I find them. I am a terrible human. But I stay away from everyone, so I don't pretend to be better. To be alone is to know this, that I am a terrible human without you. To be alone is to hear the true state of my mind, the thoughts that pour, to plead with myself to be better, to beg myself to open the windows, to switch back on the lights. I am rotting in this body, and to be alone is to smell what I have become, to feel the emptiness trying to escape. To see me without you, to see my fate decided without me, to see our children without you, to see them look for you and know they will never find you. To close my eyes and try to crawl back into my mother's womb and to remember who I was before this place, what I wanted to be before this place, before you. To hopelessly try to find my face, to know my name, to hear my first heartbeat, to try find why it came out and what it beat for before you. This will be the last poem of the evening. Dear S, I remember how I came. My first father was Sotho. My last husband was Sotho. They once were one. I lost my first father before I came here. I left him with my seventh father's seed. This is how to make love to make me. Sotho I see. It is heavy to cross over, but this is how. In the darkness, your hand always found mine to keep me from going too deep into the water. You knew better how to walk underwater, what to take and what to bring them, to let you come back to me. They took you long before your body stopped. And we were only granted enough time to help me to return to you one day. Thank you.
Wow. Does everyone want to unmute to clap? Please, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your heart here with us and for being so vulnerable and open with these poems. That gift was received, so such an honor to share space with this kind of a type of moving poetry. I'd love to open up the floor for questions for anyone who wants to comment, ask, shout out their favorite lines, anything like that. Raise a hand, pop your name in the chat, type your question in the chat if you're shy. Anybody who wants to start us off? Got Ed up first.
Qhali, that was an extraordinary reading. Thank you. Pretty much floored by it. So it's difficult to find words that are equal to what you've just shared. What Melissa said, you really bear witness to painful and vulnerable things in a way that I think few poets are brave enough to do. And there's longing and there's tenderness and so I'm going to take an easy route with my question, one easier, a lighter route. I noticed with the structure of the book that there are different dates and different times. How did that, for the conception of the book, did that evolve by itself, or did you have some sort of sense of how to put it together? That's the one question. And the other is, And I loved the letters and they. I imagine, I suppose, all poetry is a way of saying things which cannot be said otherwise, or a lot of poetry, and I wondered if those letters were very useful in that regard as a device. Sorry, I don't know if that's clear.
Thank you for the questions. Definitely not the easy route for me to answer. And I'm also very touched by how you received the poetry. Thank you for sharing that with me. So with the dates, I originally wrote a lot of the poems during my master's year. And my supervisor is here, Vanki Lekancho, Ukoko. So shout out to my supervisor. But yes, so it was a year of, trying to figure out how my eventual thesis would look. I did not know in the beginning. And it started off by me just writing different pieces and then realizing that they were during different timelines. And when we came to putting the thesis together, which a lot of this poetry is from, I did not know if I wanted to do it chronologically, the different dates, or just write it as, we go through life. 1 minute you're feeling this way, 1 minute you're remembering this. And another day you're feeling differently and you're remembering a different timeline. But there's so many moments, where you are a child again and you're back to 1994. So yeah, I eventually decided to just do it as it moved, as life moves. There was no decision about which one comes, where. But definitely decided not to do it chronologically with the dates. And my supervisor once said to me when I was trying to figure out, how I do it, and she said, you don't speak like chronologically either. 1 minute you're saying, one thing, and then the next your mind shifts and goes somewhere else. So, yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you. And will there be an audiobook? I'm being cheeky and sneaking in another question.
I don't know. I'll ask them. I'll ask the publisher.
That would be amazing.
And then with the letters, it was a year of writing. So during the year, I found that I was writing letters as well, just to loved ones. And eventually decided to actually use that as a device as well, for the poetry. And just, even the whole philosophy behind using letters for poetry is that it's such an outpouring. So it definitely does, when you have that intention behind, which is to write to a loved one or to write off a loved one, to write a loved one a letter, you're definitely far more vulnerable. Yeah, so that's how the letters definitely did contribute and made it easier.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, I see another hand, and Vangile, I saw your hand was up, but it's gone again. So if you do have a question, you're welcome to put your hand up again. Otherwise, Jacques' hand is up as the next person.
I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I'm not sure. Do you say your name Qhali or Qhali? Because I should have asked before and I'm not sure now.
I say Qhadi, Southern Sotho, the L is a D. So you can say Qhadi, Yeah, that really doesn't matter, but it's a D at the end.
Okay. So I was just incredibly moved by your reading. I'm always moved by your reading, and so I have two questions. The first one is you shared once in an email that you were recording audio. You were making recordings of some of your writing. I really wanted to know how that's going and whether we can get hold of that, because you're such a powerful reader of your own work, which not all poets are, let's face it. And the other question, yeah, that there are two traditions, I think, in talking about poetry. And the one tradition says that becoming a poet has to do with learning to make things, you become more skilled, you become a maker, and you learn technique, and you read, and you become more skilled. And the other tradition says you're called. You're called, and you don't know from where. And I sense you belong to that second tradition, that there is such a sense of being called, of calling, but also of being called. And I wondered if you wanted to say something about that, about poetry as a calling. And it almost goes beyond poetry to something spiritual that maybe poetry can express. But I wondered if you wanted to say something about that, about poetry as something that calls to you from another place.
Oh, Jacques. Jacques, how do I say your name? Do I say Jacques or Yakus?
Jacques.
Yeah, okay. And we've been communicating over email for some time, and here we are asking how to pronounce each other's names.
Yes, I know. Yes.
So with regards to the audiobook, we have there is an audiobook that will be out in November. And I will share the invitation, and if you could please share it with anyone else as well. We have a launch at Exclusive Books on the 30th of November for our anthology, which is titled Losi Lahleko.
Which exclusive?
Rosebank, in Rosebank.
Okay.
In Johannesburg. So yes, there's an audiobook for an anthology that I produced with 12 incredible South African writers. Some of them are here today. So that's the audiobook that I was telling you about. But for my own work, I don't know. I'll ask them about the audiobook, but I'm very excited about this audiobook that will be out during the 16 days of activism. And it's the different writers who also did their own recordings. It's just, yeah, audio is incredible. With regards to the calling, I don't know. I just feel like you described it so beautifully. And I just want to say yes. What the second option you gave me is definitely how I resonate with poetry. Yes, I feel called to poetry, and poetry is a calling. And it's a responsibility, not just a passion. I do feel it's a responsibility, and I take it very seriously, and I put a lot of work into the different projects, and anything I do, because I do take it as a responsibility to my ancestors, and other people that are living but perhaps don't, or maybe moved by something that they read. And I think many poets feel that way. I think all poets feel that way, even if they are technical and academic in how they describe their writing process. But I do definitely believe that poetry, you call and it is a calling, but you described it so beautifully.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacques. Then we've got a question from Vangile.
Hi, sorry. So first of all, I want to really, no, babe. I really want to fangirl Utumi because I think she's an incredibly talented writer. But I mean, not bad. And I also want to have a conversation. Sorry. And I also want to have a conversation around being bilingual and stepping into bilingual writing. And I mean, I know that there were some kind of challenges moving through the thesis and writing the work as a bilingual, as a holistic bilingual piece. And so I'd like her to maybe kind of speak to that process, but more to, I'm curious as to where she is as a bilingual writer right now, understanding the politics of translation, but also understanding the truth of living in two languages or multiple languages in a country that where the politics of translation are still colonial. So I don't know, I hope that makes sense, but I'd like to maybe open up that conversation. And Ulivo is also saying hi, so say hello, mother.
Hello, Livu. Hello, Papa. Uyabulisa umakazi, ndiyakuthanda mntanam. Tamaku Makulu, thank you for Lombuzo. So where I am now with bilingual, I am a bilingual writer. Where I am with it now is I do find it challenging. It is far more difficult to have opportunities and spaces, distribution platforms for our indigenous languages. But that's part of the responsibility that I've taken upon myself and many writers have taken upon themselves to do. But it is a long road ahead for us. Just with getting the anthology into stores, the minute, I would mention that it's multilingual, all of them, the various stores, most of them, sorry, not all of them, would say, no, indigenous languages don't sell that well. But that's if we stop because it's hard, then I feel that our languages are going to die slowly, and we see it with our own children. I see it at home. I speak so much English. I don't even realize how much English I speak at home. And to be quite honest, through poetry is the only place where I really feel I'm more responsible than I am even with my own kids. I do believe that literature is a tool to fight, to preserve our languages, but it's very difficult. That's where I am now with it. And then with regards to my process as writing, as a bilingual writer, yeah, you would remember how difficult it was because there's 1 minute you've written a Xhosa poem and then you want to translate it into English, and then you realize that there's no words in English for some of the things that you've written in Xhosa, or for the whole poem actually, which is why our languages matter so much. Our indigenous languages and all language, even English, matters, and it is a part of our heritage, which is why I do write in English. It is a part of my history and a part of my heritage. But it's become so clear over my writing history that so long as we do not write in our indigenous languages, there are things that are going to go unsaid and unwritten because they just do not exist in another language. Yeah, but my whole thesis was about bilingual writing and indigenous languages. So I could talk about this forever. Let me pause there. Makulu, how do you feel about that response so far? Because you just open up my brain.
No, I'm very happy with the response. I think also to add that you're not actually a bilingual writer. You're I mean, the collection itself is trilingual, but to be multilingual and to live in those languages. And I think just really thinking about not having to justify it and trying to move away. I mean, I hate even asking this question, but I do think that you have some valuable insights because of how you moved through the institution of what it means to write a bilingual thesis academically, where you're not writing one half in Xhosa and one half in English, where you're choosing to write as you speak, to write as a person who moves through language fluidly. And I think that there's much value to opening up that conversation. Even though I feel like we should be past it and, it's boring, but it exists.
Yeah, and
So,
you just said about how you just touched on the fact that we speak like this. 1 minute we're speaking English, and then the next we're speaking Xhosa. This is the generation that I am a part of, as much as I'm a Sotho as well. But 1 minute I'm speaking English, and the next I'm speaking Xhosa. But when it comes to publications, so many of the publishers, they actually want you to translate what you've written, whereas when you're speaking, you don't go and translate what you've just said to your family and your peers. But yeah, it's a long road, and the more publishers and our institutions support, us living in our truth and our own languages, yeah, the better road it's going to be. And I'm grateful to the African, the publisher now that's going to be publishing this book, for allowing me to write in Xhosa with some of the work, because it is an American publisher, and they could have easily said, no, just stick to English. But yes, I'm also grateful that there are people abroad who are willing to publish indigenous languages.
Thank you for that topic. That's very, very interesting. A lot of food for thought for one. I did see Zandile's hand was up earlier. It's gone down again. Yeah, you want to ask something?
Hi everyone. Sis Itumeleng, firstly, I'd just like to thank you for, just expressing yourself the way that you did. And I'm here because I'm a poet myself, and I saw your post, and I was just like, okay, well, why not? And I mean, I have recess right now. So, I mean, definitely it was going to be possible for me to be here. And I really don't regret being here, because I feel as if, it's always great to just be in platforms with, with like-minded people so that you can grow. Because the whole thing of just always being behind closed doors, behind the books, it doesn't help. So thank you so much for that. I really took in your poems. And I mean, I also saw on Instagram that you write. I've been reading your writings, and I've been very inspired by it. So I really thought to myself, I know, man, let me actually see her, And like you said, poetry, man, I would know, because I've been writing since I was 9. So I understand it all, So it's always great to just know that there's someone that, who also kind of understands poetry the way that you have, the way that you do, in a sense that, like it feels like a calling. Because I remember the other time, I'm sorry, I talk a lot and I'm very I'm so sorry.
Don't be.
I'm so sorry. But I remember my friend, having a 25th birthday, and then I wanted to write her a poem, right? I wanted to give it to her as a birthday present, but I couldn't give it to her on time because I was experiencing a writer's block. And, when my other friend asked why I wasn't giving it to her on time, I was like, oh, I mean, it's kind of difficult to explain this. I have to feel it because there's nothing bad like forcing it. It's you can't force poetry. It doesn't feel right. So I waited for a moment whereby I really felt like, no, this is exactly what I should put on, and I think it took me like six months to actually write, to finally write. And then when she got it, she was so happy. And that's when I knew that no, but I mean, she ought to be happy because it flowed so naturally and it was so real. There was nothing that I was forcing out, you know. So yeah. And also I just want to ask, like, when you started writing.
Hello? When did I start writing?
Yeah, when did you start writing?
I can remember as far back as 7. But
okay.
I don't know if I wrote before that. But so I clicked with you when you said 9.
Oh, okay. All right. But yeah, just your poems are very inspiring. So thank you for that.
And how far are you with your work? How's that going?
Things are going fine. It's just that, I mean, because of academics, it's been very difficult to constantly write. But the last time I wrote was, when was it? It was 2 weeks ago. I was actually looking to publish an anthology, but I don't even know where to start. So when you said that, you're still about to, or just everything along those lines, I was taken aback because I mean, it's difficult. And lately I've just been asking people who are authors how they do it because it just seems like such a strenuous process that's impossible to complete, in all honesty. So yeah, but writing is a thing of mine. It's my scapegoat. Yeah, it's a platform where I get to escape, from just everything, where I get to be myself, just like you. So yeah, that's that. Be writing a lot though.
I would love to read your work. You can send me a message. And yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thanks,
Thank
Andile.
you. You're also very welcome to stay on and share something in the open mic. Are there any other questions before we wrap up this section? I thought maybe I'll pop in with one. I really appreciated the way you read your poems and held space with your poems. Some of the topics are heavy, are raw, and I felt that as a poet and reading your work, you really allowed that heaviness. Specifically, I'm thinking of your longer poem that you kind of stopped partway through. You allowed us to be in that moment with you, but there was a gentleness about it. And I'm wondering how you, as someone who I'm assuming mostly is writing from experience, how you handle, going through those kind of heavier things that you've written about again when you reading it or re-performing it or whatever, and how that interaction shifts with initially being a private process on the page and then now sharing for an audience.
Yeah. I mean, you saw I did cry in one of them. I don't even know which one. So you can't divorce yourself from them. Yeah. But with that long one, actually with all of them. So I think structure is very important on a page, and poetry has grown so much that, even in terms of structure, how we lay out a poem on a page, that instructs the reader, including the writer, how to read it and, how to take breaks. And I think when you when you are intentional about how you structure your work, you also allow yourself to take those breaks, you know. So when fortunately I could read it, but you know, you weren't able to see it. So the breaks were almost letting me breathe in my head, like take a breath, you know. So yeah, structure really helps. It helps me as a reader.
Love that. I love that answer. The poetry doing that work for you almost. That's awesome. Thank you. Do we have any other last minute questions before we take a quick break and head over to open mic? Going once, going twice? No. Okay, then we close off this part and say another big thank you to Qhali for this incredible reading and for your generosity in your answering as well. We cannot wait for your chapbook and your anthology and all of that stuff you're working on. So please keep us posted. And if you want to post your following places in the chat, your Instagram and stuff, people can find you there for more, I'm sure. One more unmuting to clap, people.